in as much as I'm aware it's been generating debate. And that's what this was about. Let's first say it's not coming from a presumption that there are racists within our midst. It isn't. When I use words, I choose them carefully. The motion relates to the body that is the town council, not the individual members of it. We've had a difficult time of it recently, and I say that not recently in years, I mean in tens of years, where we've had an issue about talking about race, about things that upset race, and people have used the racist card far too often. I don't personally believe it's racist to talk about the number of immigrants coming into a community and how it affects our services. That's a statement of fact. That's not being racist. But I'm also aware that there are, thankfully, not in this town, but in communities very, very close by, where true racism is taking place, where people are getting threats based on race. Now let's just understand exactly what racism is, because myself, 50-something white males and white females, we tend to get really hung up about racism. Racism is when I think, because I'm white, I'm superior to you because you are black, Asian, Muslim, whatever it may be. It's about putting people down. It's the old English and Irishman and Scotsman joke, where the Irishman was always a stupid person. That's what racism is. But we tend to get hung up on it, because that's not actually a problem. I don't think many people get offended by an Englishman, Irishman and Scotsman joke. I'm not on about that. I'm on about the real racism that people are suffering close by, where people are in fear, where people are frightened. So I do not want to be part of that world. I want to be part of the world where we dislike each other because we dislike each other. It's got nothing to do with the colour of the skin or what part of the country you're from or what part of the world you're from. Let's treat everybody equally, as I say. And that is why the motion says the Skegness Town Council, not individuals, deplore all forms of racist activity, be it intentional or not. People have got hung up about that phrase as well. Just because I don't mean to be racist doesn't stop it hurting, doesn't stop it frightening people. So that's why intentional or not is in there. We, as a town council, deplore all forms of racist activity, be it intentional or not, and we'll do all we can to ensure that no such actions or words are tolerated in this town. We are elected and we call ourselves community leaders, therefore we should stand up and be counted when it comes to fighting racism. We shouldn't be frightened, we shouldn't be looking to hide behind anything. We should be brave enough to stand up and be counted. It further goes on that further Skegness Town Council, again the body Skegness Town Council, has always been committed to doing its very best for every man, woman and child in Skegness. By passing this motion unanimously, which I hope Skegness Town Council and every councillor present reaffirms their commitment without fear or favour. So it's not about us individually standing up and saying, well, I've never been racist, I've got black friends, I've got Asian friends. That's not what I'm asking you to do tonight, please. I'm asking you to reaffirm as a council, as a legal body, that we will not tolerate racism within this town. And I think you will find that this is one such motion that will be appearing for a lot of councils in the future, because it is a problem. If we do nothing, and if we don't talk about the issues, as I've mentioned earlier, talk about migrants or whatever it may be, if we're all too frightened to do that, we know what happens. We know what happened in the 1930s, because people were too frightened to stand up, too frightened to say anything. Things, a little one person makes a group of 5, makes a group of 10, becomes a huge force that we know it was. So I shall say no more. That is my reason for proposing it. It's not aimed at anybody, it's not aimed at any party, it's aimed at everybody in this community, and us being prepared to stand up as a council to support them one and all. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to second this motion. I think it's important we reaffirm our commitment as a council to all members of the public, regardless of their colour, race or nationality, and that's why I've seconded this. So I reserve my right to say thank
Again, some more traffic. I've no problem supporting this motion. I just want to make it clear, because we've got the press here, we've got members of the public here. There isn't a racism problem in Skegness. I mean, I look at the agenda and I look at it, I think anybody reading this is going to think that all councils are in danger. There's racism everywhere. You know, that isn't skegness. So I've got no problem supporting it because I deplore racism myself or any kind of hate crime whatsoever. I just want the press to know that skegness doesn't have a racism problem. Okay? I'll get you water. I don't want him to shout.
Councillor Ellis.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I fully support this motion and I'd like to thank the proposer and the seconder for bringing this motion to the table. Mr Mayor, I'm old enough and I live and originally come from London, as you know. I remember the 80s and the 90s and the race riots in London and the causes by what happened there. And yes, Councillor Kirk is absolutely right. I don't want to relive those horrible years when this was happening in parts of London that I come from, and actually seeing it is a horrible thing. I've also been subject to some of the issues with the police when they used to attack black people in some of the areas of London as well, the Metropolitan Police. Again, I don't want to go back to those days again, and I think it's been brought to the public attention of what is going on. But I am concerned, and the Deputy Mayor says there is no racism in this town. I'd like to know how he knows that, because I certainly don't get that feeling. I think that we need, okay, to reaffirm this and make sure as a community that we will not tolerate this. We will not tolerate this for one bit, whether it be Polish, Lithuanian, whether it be Asian, Muslim, Roman Catholic, or any forms of religion or colour of creed or whatever. We will not tolerate this. We are, or should be, a diverse community. I look around this table, we have no black leaders. Why? We have black people in the town. I think I'm the only one that's got mixed races in this council chamber. That's why I find it sometimes really offensive, some of the language used. And I'm just really glad that this motion has come forward, and maybe we can reaffirm some of the issues here. Some of the language I hear in the town, I am alarmed at. I am really alarmed at, especially after the referendum. And you know, and I'm not trying to emanate what happened back in the 80s and 90s in London, but I think we as community leaders, we've got to show our community the right way forward regarding this issue.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, if we go right back, we call racism, and where did racism start at the beginning? It all started, we're back into the 40s, early 50s. Can you remember when everybody had the gollywog brooch? Can you remember that? Yeah. There was no trouble with racism. There were gollywog dolls. There was no trouble, even though we got the ethnic minority in the country then. We even, I even had a car, 1959, the registration number, WOG964. It never caused any problem. The problem where it's all arose is political correctness. Prove me if I'm wrong. Years ago, we used to have the black and white minstrel shows. That was white men dressed up black. There was nothing said in that. But when political correctness came in, you couldn't use the word blackboard. You couldn't use any word that was detrimental to anything. A pot pigs was put in a window in one place. Now there's a pot pigs in a window. The council told them to put it down because of offensive to Muslims. Muslims never bothered. Now, racism.
Can you make your point?
Yes, what I'm saying is, now we're coming out to Brexit. All right, there's a lot more antagonism. But I haven't seen a lot on it in Skegness. And don't forget, we are, by our own code of conduct, we sign a code of conduct as regards that. And I just wondered, when's county council election?
Well, Councillor Ellis.
I'm quite sure I follow that. I was very pleased to see this motion, and I want to come from a slightly different angle on it. Is that, yes, reaffirm, we also celebrate differences. Skegness, I'm born and bred in Skegness, and when I go around different parts of the country, even when I travel abroad, people often can't work out where I come from in the UK, because I really lack of accent or whatever. But my influences have mainly been over the years from the Midlands. People coming in from Derby, Leicester, Nottingham, whatever. And I found that to be an advantage, because I pick up a bit from every sort of culture, whether it's someone from Yorkshire, the way they talk, someone from Liverpool, wherever. And we should celebrate the differences. And I take slight umbrage with Mark, because my mum was Irish, you know, so how far do you go, you know? I just think we should reaffirm, as it says in the motion, but also, as a town, we celebrate people coming in from everywhere. We're open to all influences and celebrate and welcome them. I think it is difficult when people start on social media making comments. That disturbs me. I work all over Lincolnshire, Nottingham and the Midlands, and on a daily basis I do come across people I work with, and I always remind them of differences, and our equality and diversity policy as a council should stand in good stead, whether it's as councillors conduct, we should do it as human beings and fellow citizens on this earth. We shouldn't need a policy to tell us to be tolerant and celebrate everyone's differences, whether it's race, colour, sexuality, whichever way you want to go. Diversity is what makes the human race different to everybody else. So that's the message I want to come out from Skegness, is that everyone is welcome. We embrace you, whether you come as a resident or you come as a holiday maker. We're open and welcome you.
Yeah, I'd just like to come back to Councillor Anderson, where my information came from the Lincolnshire Police, who said there had been no increase in racism in Skegness. There's been no increase in the last year, and there's been no increase since the referendum. Because when I saw this, it worried me. I thought, I've not heard any, and I don't want any racism in this town. So I did make contact with the police to find out if incidents had arisen. You could ask the inspector if it has.
Anybody else who has not spoken on this item to speak, please? In which case, if you would need to say, Councillor Macy, this is a vote. Right, colleagues. It's been proposed and seconded. Those big one, Councillor. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a proposal. Yeah, as I did say, Councillor Brooks, before I started, there was no suggestion there was racism, although hearing one of my colleagues, I now begin to wonder somewhat. Councillor Gavitas, I would like to when you stop speaking. You made a lot of people in this chamber feel very, very uncomfortable. To say we have no racism between 1940, I would argue those people in the 16th and 17th century with fighting the slave trade would disagree slightly. But anyway, there we are. The worst sort of racist possibly. We don't have it in this chamber, and I'm very pleased about that. I'm very, very pleased that the inspector was able to say to you, we have no racism, increase in racism in this town. As I said at the beginning, that wasn't the point I was making. Let's just be solid, because it's not so much this town I'm worried about, it's the communities around this town. I think you all know which ones I'm talking about. Don't need to go much further than that. You know, not very far away, some people are experiencing quite nasty things. So, yeah, propose this motion as written, and put the vote, please, Mr. Mayor. Right. Okay, you've heard the comments. Those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. Vote on the floor. That's unanimous. Thank you.